Record. Thank you, LaTanya. So similar to the kickoff, we're gonna share the welcome and housekeeping and do a quick introduction, but moving forward, these won't be included. But just as a reminder, we love to see everyone's face. So if you can have your video on, if you're available, we love that. We also love when you come off mute and chat. I know it's a lot of information delivery, but we really want it to be engaging. So please feel free to come off chat, ask a question, add to the conversation. Also use the chat function. We'll be consistently monitoring that. We also have the Q&A turned on. So if you have any questions throughout, you can put those into the questions and either LaTanya and I will respond. We also ask, and I think most of you have already done this, but if you can rename your name to your name as well as the district that you are working at, which I think everyone has done that already. This just helps us know what district you're working at to assign you to breakout rooms, as well as for attendance purposes. You have seen our faces before, but just one more time to make sure, since this is our first district quality improvement team training, introducing the Maya team that is leading this work. First is Dr. Sarah Gunkoff. You haven't seen her face much, but she is the project lead and is working a lot in helping develop all of these tools, resources, and materials to get this teacher time study going. You will see her face at the in-person convening. I'm also joined today by Dr. LaTanya Smith, who you have seen many times before. She's a training lead along with myself, as well as a district coach. And then my name is Alex Koltnowski, and also supporting this work in terms of being a training lead as well as a district coach. I also have our contact information on there. You should have our email saved, but worst case, if you don't know where they are, you can always go back to the training to look at those. So first, to provide you with an overview of what today's session is going to look like. We're really, like I said, going to be focusing on covering collecting baseline data, as well as collecting the survey data. Our next training in the beginning of May is going to talk about the analysis piece. So today it's purely focusing on collection efforts. Then you'll go do your collection. We'll have a interim coaching call check-in where we'll say, how is the collection efforts going? How is the survey going? And then we're going to ask that you come to that May training with both the baseline and survey data so we can work through to begin to analyze that together. I put in the chat again that note catcher that links all of the resources, as well as provides you with a space to take notes from the session. The objectives of today's session are that first, you'll understand the purpose of the baseline data. Second, you'll feel prepared to actually begin collecting the baseline data. I know that most of you guys have already been kind of charging that, so hopefully we already are feeling good about that. Third, you'll be prepared to modify the template staff survey that we're going to share with you to fit your district context. And then fourth, you'll be prepared to administer the survey in your district. So the first section today is focusing on collecting that baseline data. Again, I know that this is something we covered in the coaching calls, and that most of you have already been working on, but just wanted to cover it and make sure that everyone has a shared understanding of the purpose and role of the baseline data, as well as how we'll continue to collect this data moving forward. So first, why do we collect baseline data? Baseline data are collected before an intervention or initiative to establish a starting point for measurement. We want to be able to know if we are having impact and making the change that we're hoping to see. So it provides a point of comparison to measure change over time. It informs strategy design and resource allocation, and it enables evaluation of impact and success. So it really allows us to say, this is the starting point that we're working from, and these are the interim targets that we've identified and where we want to be after maybe the first year, second year, moving forward. So it really gives us that strong point to say, this is what we're measuring and why. We created a baseline data collection tool that, Latanya, if you could share in the chat, that I know that both districts have already accessed and are utilizing, but just wanted to show kind of an overview of what it looks like and why it was created the way that it was. So if you look in the first column, column A, this is just showing the data grouping. So staffing counts, teacher attendance rates, attendance, teacher insights, just kind of a way to thematically think about how the data is organized. The second column is column B, which is the variable itself. We tried to name the variable based on how we have accessed data in the past. So for instance, all these variables in staffing counts are how the data are labeled and referred to in the TAPER reports. So I wanted to streamline that and hoping that it's very similar in your SIS system. Again, if there's any questions around like, oh, our dashboard, our district, a lot of D words, doesn't have this specific data, then we'll just think about like, what's another way to look at it? This is just kind of getting at the root that we're trying to look at. So maybe your district doesn't look at the retention rate of TIA teachers that are specifically exemplary, and they only look at the retention rate of TIA teachers as a whole, then that's fine. We'll just swap that out. Again, this is just a template. That's a starting point. We tried to make it as applicable to district, but we know there's going to be some modifications. Moving forward, this is your baseline data. So once you've identified your specific variables, that's what you'll measure going forward. This is just the starting point. Columns C and D identify if it's new or existing data. As you can see, most of it's going to be existing data, and that's kind of the case when we're thinking about baseline data. I know I'll share my screen on the baseline data collection tool in a second. But most of this, like I said, is existing data. The new data that's going to be collected is through the survey that we'll be covering later in this section, as well as through the teacher researcher data collection efforts. So like the focus groups, the time audit, all of that will be put in and considered as this baseline data. The data source in column E, most of it you'll see is going to say local. And that's just referring to your local student information system, your HR system. If it is collected from the survey that you're going to administer, it'll say survey on there. I included where if any of the variables are available in like TAPER, if you want to look at previous counts, just remember that TAPER is always lagging, but all of these staffing counts data are available through the TAPER report, with the most recent one being 2023, 2024. And then that last column on it is talking about who leads this effort. So you'll see most of it is your team, the district quality improvement team. But when we get to some of the new data collection efforts with the focus groups, the time audit, a lot of that, or those are going to be led by the teacher researchers. So this is just an all-encompassing kind of snapshot of where do you access the data. This is the baseline data overview. The data collection template tab is where you can actually enter your own data. So I kind of covered this, but just wanted to highlight again the staffing data groupings that we're looking at. We're really looking at staffing counts to better understand like what does the landscape of staffing look like in your district currently and at those specific campuses of focus. What do the teacher retention rates look like? Are teachers staying at the district for how long? What does the longevity look like? What do teacher and student attendance look like? So we want to look at the total number of days that are possible for them to attend, and what is the average attendance rate. Again, we're looking at and comparing across the 3 campuses of focus. So you'll have campus 1, campus 2, campus 3. And then for most of the data points, we're also asking that you collect a district as a whole data point as well. And that's to give us another benchmark to compare to. So we can say this is the district and how they're performing. In comparison, this is how campus 1 is performing, campus 2 and campus 3. So that gives us that comparison along with being able to look at it longitudinally. So we'll have this baseline And then maybe we'll collect it again in December after the plan like has not been implemented, but has come together. Then we do it again at the end of the year. And then after year 2. So you'll have both those comparison points to say, are these districts performing in comparison to the district? And then how are they performing over time? Next, we'll also look at timing. So that's really looking at the instructional allocation of how much time are teachers spending on various tasks. And do they, how does that look in comparison to instructional versus non-instructional tasks? And what are all those non-instructional tasks? A lot of that information is going to be collected through the survey, as we'll cover later, as well as through the time collection data efforts. And then the last one are getting teacher and staffing insights, which again, a lot of this will be collected through the focus groups, the survey, as well as the, I think, yeah, mostly the focus groups and surveys to say, how did teachers feel as though they're spending their time? Do they feel as though they are overworked, which I'm assuming, yes, they do, but how do they think that their day is spread out? Where are they spending the majority of their time? Do they think they should be spending the majority of their time this way? And then really solicit some feedback and ideas around how they think some changes could be made. In terms of how the data will be collected, again, as I mentioned, that template talks about who is responsible for that, as well as whether it's new or existing data. Oops. And then I'm going to jump and share my screen one more time to show you the baseline data collection tool itself. So as I mentioned, this is going through the full baseline data overview. Let me zoom in a little bit. Showing you the data grouping, the variable going forward, but I just want to be able to scroll and show you where it starts doing having the new. So these are all the data sources that are going to be new. So in the baseline data, we'll be looking at teacher satisfaction with their current position, teacher intent to stay in their current position. And then in terms of like the time data, be able to look at the average time spent on instructional delivery by campus, their average time spent on lesson planning and internalization, on non-instructional tasks, on supplemental instruction, and then average time spent on tutoring if applicable. So these are the new data collection efforts that are going to be collected. The data collection template itself, again, is where you will be entering your district and campus specific data. So this is basically just copied over of that baseline template, taking out some of the organization of it and just making it so these are all the variables. This is where you enter the data for campus 1, campus 2, campus 3, and the district. If there's ever anything blocked out, again, that just means we're not asking you to collect that data for that level. So we don't want to see the average teacher's salary by campus. We're only looking at by district. The length of the student day and hours, we're not looking at that by campus, we're looking at that by district because that's a district kind of shared norm. Again, if your district, for example, has 5 campuses, we know only 3 campuses are involved in the study, we're still asking that the district average includes all campuses. We want to be able to use that as the comparison point. So you'll have campus 1, 2, 3, and then the whole district, even if that encompasses more campuses than just those 3. As you guys have been working through this, have there been any challenges or questions that have come up, or are you all feeling pretty good as you progress through these data collection efforts?
I feel good. My only question was the survey, but when I reached out to Deborah, she was like, no, we have a survey template for you. And I was like, okay, solve my problem.
Okay, good. Awesome.
Yeah. Any other questions before we go into collecting survey data and dive into that section? Okay. Good. Let's talk about collecting survey data. Next slide for me, Alex. So we're going to give you about 10 minutes. We want to give you the first 5 minutes to independently review this survey data collection guide. Alex, will you drop it in the chat for me? That's also can be found in your note catcher. This is going to be your guide, step-by-step guide of how we are asking you to collect survey data. We're going to give you 5 minutes to look over it independently. And then as a district team, spend 5 minutes to discuss how you can use the guide to manage the collection, to manage survey collection within the window, within the time frame. When we come back after the 10 minutes, be prepared to share out how your district plans to use the guide, as well as any wonderings that you have that we may have missed in the guide. So we're going to send you into breakout rooms by district, and then 5 minutes to read or to think independently, and then 5 minutes to share out as your team, or use your time as you see fit. We'll bring you back in 10 minutes.
Awesome. So we'll come back together after the solo review at 9:24, and then I'll put you into the breakout rooms. If anyone has trouble accessing the guide, just let us know. All right, I know the 5 minutes always goes by very, very fast, but I swear that was 5 minutes. I'm now gonna open up the district specific rooms and we're gonna ask that you go to the rooms and just kind of discuss as a group, really thinking specifically about how you could use this tool as you plan to administer the survey in your district. And just come back to the group to share any wonderings, any ideas about how you can think about the logistics of this survey. And we'll come back together at 9:30.
I'm gonna pause recording. Okay, we'd love to hear from both districts. How does your district plan to use the guide? And then any wonderings that you have about the guide?
Okay, I'll start. Or Adrian's gonna speak for Temple.
So we were trying to figure out who was going to be the speaker, and nobody jumped on, so I'll do it real quick. But only because I'm actually the one that sends out the climate survey, and so we're currently in that mode right now. And so this is just kind of my thinking as I'm looking at this particular survey. And my understanding is that this is a teacher study. So are we sending this out to every single employee, or is it only going to teachers? And is it going to the teachers that are part of the study, or does it go to all campuses? I guess those are my questions. As we go through, you know, I do like the templates that are here, the emails, the timelines, all that is great, very doable. Totally agree with that. But I do the survey itself, in my opinion, and I think maybe some of us, is very long. There's a lot of data there. There's going to be some questions. I know Epperson in our group brought up that a new teacher may define management as something different than a veteran teacher is going to define. So that's going to bring up a little bit of confusion there as well. So maybe some descriptors are needed for that, or maybe that's the intent behind it, is just to see what it pulls up. And then the time, I can't remember what the exact question was, but at the very the time allotted or the time used up as an open-ended question could essentially open up paragraphs worth of information versus should we narrow it down to like 0 to 30, 30 to an hour, or something to that effect. So those are just some thoughts, and I know I said a lot right there, so I don't know if that's what you were looking for.
You did say a lot, but I think I remember. So I'm going to try to answer your questions, and that's fine. We love a lot. So to answer, I think the first question that came up about who, we're going to go into that a couple of slides down and tell you exactly who you're going to send the survey data to and who not to send it to. But to answer your question, it's going to include teachers, campus admin. Will tell you exactly who the campus admin mean or for this study. District administration will also define who not to send it to in the district administration team. Student teachers, if you have any student teachers, and then teacher aides. And so that's who it goes out to, and we're trying to collect data from a variety of sources. So to answer your question on that, and there's also opportunities for you to customize your survey data to fit your district need. So if you want to go in and define, and we can help you define some of the descriptors that you said maybe needs some defining, we can absolutely help with that. Alex, right? Like to that point, just to kind of narrow it down for you to make sure that we're getting the same answers, the answers that we're looking for to help with the defining. What other questions? And yes, we're thinking it should take about 15 minutes. And so in the emails that we send out, that the templates that we have for you to share with districts, I mean, with the district, the teams or the team members, it tells them about how much time to allocate for it. So it's about 15 minutes to complete the survey. What other question did you ask?
On the question that, like, do you have any suggestions for how our school or district could improve the allocation of time? You know, like those types of questions. They're open-ended.
Yeah.
And then I'm trying to scroll down through here real quick. There was
Yeah.
another one.
And the idea is to collect as much insight as for it being open-ended of like what that could look like based on your particular role that you're playing. So it's intended to be open-ended.
Okay. And then who's ultimately responsible for disaggregating the data that comes in from here?
Yeah.
The
Yeah. So
campus, the district?
you will make up that plan for that.
Okay,
We'll give you
gotcha.
time and we'll talk about that.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. Thanks for the questions. Any other questions? Or we want to hear from Lytle now. Thanks for the question.
I'll share, and we had some of the questions that you already answered, but our team will complete the admin plan. That's next steps for us. Reviewing those deadlines, we're going to calendar those deadlines for ourselves with the reminders. That's helpful in the guide. Collect that baseline data. We are going to be needing to make some adjustments to the survey. We're small but mighty in Lytle, so some of the entire sections of things we may or may not even have a student teacher on a campus that at this time. So that was one of the questions. Are we going to be able to either make some of those sections optional and
Yes,
or delete it if it doesn't even apply? And so we were wondering about that. And then just knowing who district admin is, like what you're going to talk about that. And then are you referring to just instructional aides, like aides that work in classrooms versus what aides are you referring to regarding teacher aides? So
yeah. Okay.
Then that was really the only things that we talked about, other than, it is long. And so we probably need to also have a plan of, like we have certain times of the day that we could do like during our PLC time, give them the first 15 minutes or the last, or, think of ways that if we want it to be at 70%, we're going to need to think of ways either to incentivize or to give them the time.
Yes.
To complete it.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that. So I think moving forward, we're going to answer a lot of the questions that have probably come up. So can we go to the next slide, Alex? So did we do this slide already? Okay, sorry, Alex, I pushed myself forward. So we want the survey to be completed by teachers, campus and district admin, student teachers, and paraprofessionals in order to capture additional perspectives on how time is spent across different roles and responsibilities, use baseline data to compare so that we can compare, and build stakeholder engagement, increasing buy-in and helping create ownership in the future of strategic planning and initiatives. Next slide, Alex.
Yeah, and really quick, I just want to emphasize the building stakeholder engagement and increasing buy-in piece, because we know that this teacher time study is huge on your campus, and being able to really collect insights from a larger group of teachers and administrators and teacher aides, parapros is really, really important. And I think that's one reason too, we have that long open-ended question. I know analyzing that data, coming from a district where I had a question like that on my annual survey, is not always the most fun because you do get long responses, but I know I got the most rich feedback in some of the ideas that we ended up implementing from those questions. So I think there's just a lot of information you can pull, and it also increases a buy-in because you're able to communicate like, hey, we heard this, we learned of this from a staff survey. One of you all had this exact idea and we are implementing it because of that. So it really helps build that buy-in and show that reciprocity of, yes, we're asking you to complete this survey. We know it's asking a lot of you. It's 15 minutes of your time when you already have no time or limited time, but we're really using this information to guide our policies and systems and practices moving forward.
Yeah, thanks for that add, Alex. So the survey, what data will be collected? So we're focusing on time allocation, workload and stress, and challenges and suggestions. So as it relates to time allocation, we want to assess how often teachers engage in certain instructional and non-instructional tasks and how long those tasks take for them. So here's an example of a question that will be in the survey. In your opinion, what are your top 3 time-consuming tasks outside of instructional time for teachers on the campus at your district? Select 3 tasks, right? Then another area is workload and stress. We want to assess teachers' workload and how they perceive time pressures or limitations in fulfilling their responsibilities. So here's an example of how that will be assessed. To what extent, if at all, do you consider teacher workload to be a serious problem at your school? And then challenges and suggestions. Challenges, we want to assess challenges that teachers face in relation to time allocation and suggestions for improving teacher workloads. So an example of that would be, do you have any suggestions for how the school or district can improve allocation of time for teachers? So all 3 of these things are important for this study: time allocation, workload and stress, and challenges and suggestions. So here's who will be collecting data from. So the goal is, the groups are teachers, campus admin, district admin, student teachers if you have them, and teacher aides, paraprofessionals. So for teachers, we want to better understand how teachers spend their time during the average work week and the stressors they experience. This includes full and part-time teachers, multi-campus teachers, long-term subs, and intervention teachers. This excludes short-term subs. So if you have any subs that are there just, once a week, every other day, we're not looking at that group, but these are the groups that we want to include: full-time teachers, part-time teachers, multi-campus teachers, long-term subs, and intervention teachers. For campus admin, the goal is to better understand how campus leaders believe teachers allocate their time. So this includes principals, assistant principals, school heads, etc. So your administration team. This would also include instructional leaders on your campus. If they are not, you have that subgroup, they're not really teachers, they're maybe not assistant principals, but they're your instructional leads. That includes them on your campus as well. District admin. We want to better understand how district instructional leaders believe teachers allocate their time. So this includes the superintendent, the assistant supes, and instructional leadership team, but it does not include departments like finance, operations, HR, and staffing, or student support services. So this is more of your instructional leaders for the district. And student teachers, if you have them, we want to better understand how student teachers are utilized in the district or on your campuses. And paraprofessionals, teacher aides, we want to better understand how teacher aides and paraprofessionals are utilized. So this is all of your instructional aides, all of your paraprofessionals on your campus, even if they're not necessarily pushing in to do instructional all the time. Maybe there are like a secretary, or they support an assistant principal. We still want to see how they're utilized on the campus.
And one piece I just wanted to emphasize is that the survey has skip logic applied to it. So one of the first questions will be, what campus do you work at? If they select a campus that's not involved in the study, they'll automatically be sent to a page that says, thank you for your interest, but you're disqualified from the survey for lack of a better language. We're asking that you don't complete. So it helps refine to only your 3 campuses of focus. The next question, if they select one of the campuses involved or a district administrator, will be, what role are you? And that's where this will come in. And it will say, like, yes, you are eligible to complete the survey, or no, you're disqualified. So there's going to be a handful of questions up front that make sure that we're really getting this target population of who we're really trying to survey. And we can go through it and we'll talk about survey modifications, but making sure that it's really specific to your district context.
Here's the timeline that we have in place. So April 7th through the 18th, survey refinement and administration planning. So how are you going to refine the surveys that we've shared to fit your district needs? and then administration planning. And you'll have some time to plan out this during this session. April 17th, you have your DQIT coaching call to review survey refinement and discuss administration plan. And then you administer the survey between April the 21st through May the 2nd. May 2nd, you have your DQI training number 2, analyzing baseline and survey data. So we'll go over how to analyze the data and how to analyze the data. That will be your next training. So this training is just focusing on collecting, and then your May training will be focused on how do you analyze all of the data. And then May the 5th, then May the 30th, you'll have time to do survey analysis. So you don't have to worry about what are we doing right now to analyze all of this data. Just collect it and come back May, and we will talk to you about how to analyze it. So the next slide. So survey tips to increase participation. We know, we've heard you, it is a long survey. People are not going to want to do it. We have also included in your survey guide a one-pager to share with those that you're asking to participate, so that they can understand the clear communication and the purpose of this survey. What is it for? Why are we doing this? How will the data be used? And it's encouraging them to, participate to help make the difference. So we have that one pager that we've shared with you all. You have access to that. We encourage you to offer incentives. I mean, I work for food. I still work for food and treats, cupcakes in particular. And so just be creative if you can, like offer incentives, and it doesn't have to be food. I'm just greedy. And then we encourage you to set clear deadlines so that they are, your participants are aware of the deadlines. And we have in the guide when to, send a reminder and what the reminder should say. So we have that scripted out for you. If you have PD, maybe make some time within that PD to embed the survey. So if teachers are coming together, if the campus is doing an all campus PD or something where everybody will be in the one room, 20 minutes to complete the survey. And then engage school champions, those people in addition to your teacher researchers who can get people to do things. Every campus has those folks. So engage the school champions. So we want to give you all about 10 minutes to start working with your district team to create survey administration plan that you have in your guide, specifically answering the questions. Who will own the survey? Who will make the necessary edits to the survey prior to administering? Who will send out the survey? What other avenues could the survey be? What are other avenues where the survey can be shared? And in what ways can you work to boost participation? So we want you all to take about 10 minutes. And in the guide, it talks about how you click on your actual district to access your, to make a copy so that you can have the plan. So you can make a copy, have the plan, and you can start working in your plan. And we'll give you about 10 minutes to do that. Are there any questions before we go into breakout rooms? Alex, if you're talking, you're on mute.
Thank you. I'm going to open up the rooms now. We're going to do 8 minutes just so we have a couple minutes to close out. So we'll see you all back here in 8 minutes.
Not seeing how to get to my breakout room.
Give it to me. Hold on, I just moved
you.
you live.
Uh-oh.
Now I'm gonna change. I'm
Okay.
you back to Temple.
Okay. Okay, welcome back. So really quickly, we would love to hear from both districts. How did your district talk about boosting participation and creating avenues to disseminate survey data or the survey.
I can go first this time. Our people love early outs or late arrivals. And so that is something that we also used as a part of our focus group to get them to want to be a part of the focus groups. And so that's going to be a big piece. If we give them the space and the time, they love that. But if we give them an opportunity to arrive late, usually we make sure that they take care of the kids and we have little coupons that they, we are a district that everyone gets to wear jeans every day. And so that the jean pass idea is not a thing anymore, because that's just an everyday thing that we offer our staff. So that was a big thing, and they'll work for it. Like, they will definitely want that early out or late arrival.
Very nice. Thank you for sharing.
So will we capture who has completed the survey? Like, will it get the email, or will we get the spreadsheet that comes from that?
We aren't asking for specific name, just because we want to keep some anonymity to that, because there is some sensitive
right
data. So we want to keep it pretty anonymous. So the most granular we're getting is district and then grade and subject level taught. So at least you can get an idea of who is completing the survey. If you notice, kind of similar to the focus groups around who was signing up, if you're like, oh, we've really mastered like the 3rd grade teachers, but we're really missing like the kindergarten and 1st grade, you can send out some like, hey, in the guide, it'll say like, hey, we've gotten a ton of responses from the 3rd grade teachers. Like, thank you, love hearing this feedback. We're really looking at you, kindergarten and 1st grade teachers. Like, we'd love to hear from you. So it's not so much of like identifying specifics. So that does you have to think about how you can incentivize. But if you can go on like the honor system of like, yes, I completed it.
Okay. Real quick, I've got a couple that are going to drop off here because we've got another meeting at 10 o'clock, and I'm just staying here to finish up with you guys. So I think Renata and Sarah are about to drop off. So thank y'all. But just from our perspective, what we were talking about was trying to incentivize. We do have a couple of gift cards that we get early on in the year. There are Wadacat awards that we use, our gift cards, and so we're going to use that. And then possibly, I know we talked about food is not an option, so we're gonna, just kind of see what the campuses can do, but possibly doing it through PLCs or after school meetings or some other type of an event where they can pull in a group and get them all to do it at the same time. And then we talked, or possibly giving some kind of swag for completing it, and then entering in their names into like a grand prize, maybe one per campus or something to that effect. So yeah, so that was the reason behind my question. So we would have to go on the honor system for that. So, which is totally fine.
Yeah. Awesome. Really great ideas. Really getting creative and to really boost this. Really quick before we talk about next steps, I just want to show you all, there's the steps in the guide, but making sure you know how to access your district specific survey, template survey. When you go to the hub, you'll go to district folders up here. You'll see that there's one for Lytle, one for Temple. Only, like if I click Lytle, only the Lytle team has access to this. If you aren't at Lytle, it'll just be kind of like X'd out and we'll say you don't have access. But where you'll go is you'll click in phase 1. And then you'll see that it pulls up your template survey. It'll say Lytle, Temple will say Temple. So this is where you'll be able to access the template and you'll work from to modify, just so it's all saved in one space.
Thanks, Alex. So I know we're at time, so we're going to go quickly through our next steps and what's coming up. And so April 4th through the 18th, data collection baseline data, April 4th to the 18th, April 7th to the 18th, survey refinement and administration planning. And then we know STAR is coming up April 8th through May the 2nd, STAR testing. April 17th, we will review survey refinement and discuss administration plan with you all during the coaching call. April the 18th to the 21st, Easter, late spring break for some. April the 22nd through May the 2nd is the survey administration. And then May 2nd, we will come together again for how to analyze the baseline data and the survey data. So next steps for you. collect baseline data, make a copy of the template survey and modify the survey to fit your district context, and then create a survey administration plan.
And then really quick, you actually don't have to make a copy since we already made the copy for
Yeah.
you. I didn't update that, I'm sorry. And it'll just be in that folder.
In the folder, yeah. And then this is how you ask questions, you know, to email me if you have any questions. We're going to drop the exit ticket now for you to please complete the exit ticket. We do look at this exit ticket data to make sure that we are meeting your needs, and we'd love to hear your feedback. So please complete the exit ticket and reach out if you need anything. And we will get this uploaded, this actual training uploaded to the hub with the follow-up email also with next steps.
It was really good to see everyone. So we went a little bit over, but please feel free to reach out with any questions. We'll also email the exit ticket in a follow-up email for those who had to jump a little bit early.
Yeah. Thank y'all.
Thanks.
Thank you. And I'm going to actually drop out because I need to go to that other meeting as well. So thank y'all very much. Y'all take care.
Thank you. Bye-bye.